training webinar with Solavei. We are thrilled that you are here. I'm thrilled that I'm here. I'm thrilled that we are having incredible access to technology through GoToWebinar. And as you guys know, tonight we have an extraordinary call. We've got lots of folks on the webinar tonight. And most importantly, we've got some very special guests tonight with me that are going to be talking about how to increase your ability to enroll new members. Now, tonight with me on tonight's webinar are Jose Miranda, Robert McFadden, and Erin Wolf. And before I bring them on, I'm going to go ahead and mute out everybody just so we make sure we have a clean call. And just going to go ahead and pull these guys on the call. Jose Miranda, many of you guys know, he's built an extraordinary organization. I know he does not like us to share his numbers, but it's well over 10,000 people in his network. And God has just really blessed that guy tremendously. It's a very humble pastor who has had an extraordinary development of his business. Tonight, he's going to talk to us about some languaging, things that he's seeing out in the marketplace, and how many of you, the question that's been coming in a lot lately is, Staci, or Rob, or Jose, or Erin, you know, I've talked to a lot of people and I don't seem to be getting anywhere. Well, somebody today on one of our mastermind calls said something that made me want to completely change the agenda for tonight's webinar. I talked to Robert McFadden and Jose and Erin, and I said, look, will you guys shift with me, and let's take this a little deeper. Well, what it was somebody said, listen, in fact, this was on the I Am tour. Somebody came up to me and said, I've talked to 121 people, and I haven't gotten anyone to switch to Solavei. And they started talking about different things and what could it be, and as I listened to them, I immediately realized that it was the way they were languaging, the way they were coming across, their ability to actually speak with clarity about the value proposition of Solavei. Today we had somebody that said a statement. They said, you know, I feel like I'm scraping the bottom of the barrel with trying to find contacts, and I don't know what to do next. And I have to tell you, I had a little bit of Mother Teresa compassion. And at the same time, I had a little bit of Joan of Arc pulling out the swords at the same time. And I said to that person, that right there is one of the challenges that can affect one's ability to truly be able to promote something with clarity. If you are coming at Solavei or anything in your life, your marriage, your kids, your relationships, your finances, and you have a lack mentality, meaning that you're seeing things from the perspective of, oh, woe is me, or I just don't know who to talk to next. Well, my response to that person was pretty passionate and heartfelt, merciful, yet at the same time very poignant, to say, first off, how can you be scraping the bottom of the barrel when there's 331 million people in the United States alone that need cell service? That means maybe we need to get you moving out of where you've been into a place where there are actually people to connect with. I talked about, you know, different internet opportunities. I talked about going down like many of us, belly-to-belly marketing, just talking to people on the streets, talking to people in the mall, talking to people at Walmart. However you decide to do it, whether you choose to do it through online strategies or whether you choose to do it through offline strategies, the world is our oyster. There are so many people for us to reach. And so tonight, I talked to these three incredible leaders, all of them very different in their businesses. And I thought it would be a great way for us to maybe answer some of those questions for the masses of people who are out there. Maybe you see the big numbers. You see, wow, there's something like 80,000, and I'm not sure what the number is of people in the network. You see some people with 20-plus thousand people. You see some with 10,000 people. And they're saying, well, what am I doing wrong? I mean, why don't I have 1,000 or more people in my group? And tonight, we want to break it down, get real. I don't have a lot of slides tonight, but what I do have is some incredible people with experience that we're going to be able to talk openly. So let me start off first off. Jose Miranda, are you with us? Are you online? Do we have you?
Yes, Staci. Can you hear me?
I have you, Jose. Robert McFadden, are you with us? Okay, we've got to get Robert McFadden online. Erin Wolf, are you with us?
Yes, can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear. Let's just get one more go here, trying to get Mr. McFadden on the line. I see. There he is. He's on. Okay. Well, I would love tonight, we've got hundreds of people listening in, and here's what I would like for us to do as a team. collectively, I would like us to have an open discussion. Rob, you and I had a great discussion today, and it was just very open banter back and forth. And I think that's where we need to be tonight, to talk openly about what is it, number one, from, tactics of what people can say, what they can do, then also the psychology and the come across of one's attitude and perspective to what that does to them as it relates to their ability to actually be convincing enough for someone to want to switch their carrier service. So, Robert, why don't we talk with you first? Today you and I were talking in the office there, and you had some great things to share. Why don't you just open up, and then we'll kind of flow in from there.
Okay, well, thank you. I appreciate that. First of all, welcome, everybody. My name is Robert McFadden. It's my pleasure to be on the call. I sure appreciate the leadership that Staci provides, and she certainly does a great job of organizing her team and making content available for all of us. And so for me personally, I experience a lot of the same things that Staci experiences, that I'm sure Jose experiences, and I'm positive that Erin experiences. And that is, as we're growing our teams and as we're developing our networks, there has to be a point where you lead. And so you often hear the term, or I have often heard the term, servant leadership, where you lead by example. And in reality, there is no other way to truly lead than lead by example, because if you're not doing what it is that you're teaching, people ultimately will see that and they will not follow you. And so in terms of your teams, Staci and I were talking back and forth today, and it was funny because we just kind of hit this thread of conversation today regarding effectively excuses. And unfortunately, I know many of you have seen online that Zig Ziglar passed away, and he's a great loss because he was such a great motivational speaker. He's the very first motivational speaker that I ever saw actually walk across a stage and then start to talk. And, there's a handful of quotes that I have used that just throughout my adult life as I have grown in business that I've just kind of hung on to. And I'd like to share just a couple with you because contextually, they really help me as a leader. And the first one that really made a really big impact on me is your attitude, not your aptitude, will determine your altitude. And so as you start to lead your teams, you will find that your successful leaders are the ones that don't make excuses, that no matter what happens, it's all a function of attitude. None of us can control what happens to us or in our teams. So it's a function of, okay, hey, look, this just happened. Let's learn from it. What can I learn from this? And even a negative experience actually is a positive because it's something that educates you. And so I try a lot when I am working with my teams or working with my team that as they approach and as they bring comments or concerns to me, I first ask them, what's the solution? And I really want them to dig down. I may know the answer, and I may have just experienced that very same question and given that very same answer. But the whole point of being a leader, and each of you will be leading your teams, is you want them to come to you with a solution. I don't allow any of my team members or any of the leaders in my team to come to me and say, here's my problem. And I say, okay, great, what's the solution? And I want them to be solution-oriented. And that Zig Ziglar quote of your attitude really determines where you go in life. Today, when Staci and I were talking, what the thread we got on was I had an individual come to me in my team and said, Rob, I've got to share with you kind of my frustration. And I said, okay, great, because I always teach negativity goes up and positivity goes down, meaning you want everybody in your team always to feel the positive from you. If you have an issue, go to the person above you or go to corporate. That way no one in your team ever feels that negative energy from you because that's not productive. A leader is not a critic of the company. A leader is not a critic of the compensation plan. A leader is someone that inspires and helps people lift out of where they are or brings them up. And so the comment that was made to me is, hey, when I signed up in this, and keep in mind I did not sign this person up. This is not one of my direct recruits, but this is someone that came to me and said, hey, when I signed up, I was told that I was going to make all this money, and I'm not. And I feel like I was sold a bill of goods, or I feel like I'm getting screwed. I'm like, buddy, listen to me. First of all, do you want to continue this conversation? If you want to, I am more than happy to step outside of my world, and I will reach down into your world, and I will grab you by the hand, and we will walk side by side to help you build your business and to help you build your network. But I promise you, if you have that attitude and you approach it that way, no wonder you're not going to go anywhere, because you cannot approach things like that. So from sheer leadership ability, I need you to turn around and talk to your team in the same way I'm going to talk to you right now. And we had a very heart-to-heart. And I grew up, my mother, bless her heart, I'm the youngest of 6 children, and my father was killed when I was 1 year old, and I'm the youngest of those 6. And so my mother, sweet, sweet, precious woman, raised me on a couple of very key things. And the thing she raised me on was, when I deserved it, it was sharp reproof with a strong follow-up with increased love. And so I have really tried to manage anybody in my team that comes this way to me, is your attitude really is the absolute apex, and it mirrors your business. And so when somebody comes to you, it's okay to have that. Staci's even done it with me, a sharp tongue, but with an increase of love, a follow-up of, hey, look, now I just shook you. Now I just taught you the reality. Now let's see where we can go from here, and let's work together to do it. And that really is true leadership. And so when you see growing your teams and wanting to grow your teams and really wanting to drive forward, I promise you that is the root of everything, is how you approach it. Look at everything as a positive. Look at everything as a learning experience, and that will exude through your teams, and that will be the approach that they will take. And I could speak for hours. This is an 8-hour training topic. So, Staci, I'll let you steer the conversation. If there's something else you want me to dive into or you want me to take it a different direction, you let me know.
No, that's awesome, Rob. And we'll just pause there, stay, because I know you're going to be able to speak more into it. I just, today, I know every one of these training calls, we have been very tactile, talking about Outreach Manager and talking about contact trackers and commission reporting and trios and compensation plans, 40% rules. And just tonight, I just felt, this morning when we did our mastermind call, and at the beginning of the call, the first 10 minutes, I honestly, you guys could have had a pulpit in front of me. I felt like a preacher because I just know we're coming into a season. December is, and even November, it's a natural season. Believe it or not, there's heightened spirituality. There's heightened faith for many people. But whenever there's heightened spirituality, there's also heightened conflict, because there's always two forces that work against each other. Rob mentioned Zig Ziglar, who, I've been very deeply touched by his graduation to heaven. He's a very dear friend of mine, and his family has been very, very dear to me in my family's life. And so I can't help but continue to think of the amazing cliches, the amazing mantras that have been instilled in all of our spirits, that we could probably sit here and play a game of just going back and forth on things that Zig said that meant a lot. And one of the things that he always said was how important it was. When I was a little girl, I was 7, 8 years old, I remember I never saw things negatively because I was such a hyper-positive child, because my parents had me reading Zig Ziglar books since I was a little bitty. And I wouldn't say it was a stoplight. I would say it was a go light. It wasn't ends of the bread. It was the beginning of the bread. It wasn't an alarm clock. It was an opportunity clock. He always taught us how to turn every negative into a positive. And that's exactly what Rob is saying, is that your attitude, your perspective determines your altitude. And this morning, the first 10 minutes, it was that recognizing that we're in a natural season of heightened conflict. If you have seen people fight over a Elmo doll before, you realize that what is supposed to be an opportunity of blessing, of peace on earth, goodwill toward men, can often become complete heresy to that, and absolute conflict, unforgiveness, family bitterness. The day after Thanksgiving, I was in a line at a store for the Black Friday thing, and I heard this lady. Actually, I wasn't in line. Let me just be real authentic. I was in the bathroom, and the lady in the stall next to me was swearing up a storm. And I was sitting there thinking, oh, my goodness, I wish this was being videotaped so people could see that the conflict, she was swearing, talking about her sister, can't believe she did that, and she knew that I was going to bring that to the dinner, and I sat there and thought, oh my goodness, we are in a season where people have lost perspective. They've lost perspective. And you know what? You and me were no different. This morning I had to call my mommy because I lost perspective. I felt overwhelmed with some of the things and time scheduling that I'm in, and even tonight having to be at a basketball game and knowing that it's the webinar is about to start, and then my computer wouldn't work. Then I couldn't get online, and there's just conflict around us. And every now and then we need to stop. We need to get our heads screwed on straight. We need to remember that we will attract whatever we're putting out. Whatever a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. And I know we've got Jose Miranda on the line with us as well, and today he was a part of that mastermind call, and he has been privy to me coming down pretty hard because I know that, and I ask my team to do the same thing with me. If you hear me going south on something, I want you to yank my chain, because together we got to be like gladiators in the arena where we've got each other's back. And tonight, more than SIM cards or technology, I want us to see that we're going into a season right now. You are not the ambassador of Solavei. You're not the ambassador of SIM cards. You're not the ambassadors of $49 on free, unlimited voice text data on a 4G nationwide network. You are the ambassadors of hope, the earnest expectation that something good could happen to the people. And if you elevate yourself to realize that there is a world, there's not just 331 million people who need hope. It's a world of people that need hope. And that begins to switch the way we start thinking about what we're doing. Even though this is the last day of our incentives, you know what? I want you guys to get off this call when we're done and go as hope ambassadors. Maybe it gives you the edge to be a little more courageous, not be so afraid of getting a no, because you truly are entering into people's world and entering into a team that cares. So, Jose, share with us, what do you have for us on the topic of how people can increase their effectiveness with their come across or languaging or even what they're doing in their day-to-day business?
Well, thank you, and good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for what you do. And Rob, what you shared today, just a few minutes ago, I just gleaned from it, and I'm like, I shouldn't be speaking. I want more of that training. I think collaboratively, all of us coming together really makes this a company worth being part of. For me, I echo what Robert was sharing with regards to attitude, how to increase your network. Attitudes are contagious. One of the things that I share on my staff is yours worth catching. Despite of what you're facing, there's always one thing, you guys, that you have to keep the main thing the main thing. And when things are happening in this type of industry where people are getting large networks, or it seems as though everybody's getting the sign-ups, which you're not, the main thing is to keep the main thing the main thing, and that is, what are your goals? What do you want to get out of this company? I never dreamt that I would have such a large network. Quite honestly, that was never my goal. My goal was, number one, to get my cell phone paid for. And then as a result of going after people, what you say is important, but how you say it, it really means a whole lot. I mean, I can tell my wife I love you, and just kind of blow it off like I love you. Okay, it's the same thing, but then I can say it and mean it, and how I demonstrate it and how I say it can either make or break what I just said. Same approach happens with Solavei. For example, I just came out of a store. She sent me out for an errand, and while I was paying, there's this young kid, about 18 or 19 years of age, and I just simply asked him, I said, hey, man, do you have a cell phone? I wasn't going after, let me make a trio, although you can have those goals in mind, but the real reason why I wanted to find out was, hey, man, I got something that you can save money on, but quite frank with you. And he said, well, no, I don't have a phone yet. I said, dude, I got the perfect thing for you. Hey, here's my card. Give me your email. I got a 6-minute video, because I can give you something that you can probably, right now you're probably working to pay bills or something like that. He's like, yeah, man, I got a lot of bills. So I said, listen, we got $49 unlimited text data, voice, no contract. I think you may want to look into this. Here's my card. So I give him my card, and I kept shopping because I forgot something. And when I was leaving, I checked out with a different register. He stopped me, and he said, hey, dude, is this for real? $49 like your card say? And I said, absolutely, absolutely. He said, I'm checking it out tonight. So, I could have easily said, hey, man, you want to make $10,000? You want to make an extra $1,000? I think everybody is different. Your approach varies from person to person. There are some people that are just so business-minded that you got to talk that talk. But the average person that I'm coming across with, they just want to reduce their bills. So I'm coming out of a mentality of, I want to help you. I really want to help you out. And for those of you that it doesn't matter if you have one person or no people in Solavei and you're wanting to work it as a network, you guys, the main thing is that I ask myself and I ask others when they call me, and I echo what Robert was saying earlier. I appreciated that. People that come to you with a negative attitude, you got to diffuse the situation. Why are they frustrated, and get to the root of it, not to come down on them. But really, if they have a negative attitude, it's like when we were younger and we used to go to the bowling alleys, and I didn't smoke, as a 10-year-old, 12-year-old. But when I came home, man, I sure smelled like I smoked. So, in other words, your attitude of what you're conveying, people can smell that. And there are a few key words that can be turn on and turn off for people. I think where we're at, I try to avoid words like, get rich, or, guaranteed, I don't guarantee anything, or, hey, you wanna fire your boss, or anything like that. I know all different companies use a strategy, but Solavei is different. I found that keeping people that come to me, let's talk about people that are working the business, they're frustrated, they talk to 100 people, they don't even get a yes. Stick to your goal. I asked one of my guys one time, I said, hey, what's the rush, you guys? What's the rush? Solavei is a marathon. I want this to be here 50 years down the road. What are you rushing about it? And they just stopped and said, I don't know. I just feel that I need to keep up with people that are having all these large networks. I said, bingo, that is your conflict right now. You're comparing yourself, and you're like a runner in the Olympics, let's just say, running the 5,000 meters, looking left and right at everybody running and checking out their shoes, or checking out how fast they're going. Listen, looking side to side can distract you. Glean from people, glean from those amazing leaders that you have in place in your life, like Robert and Staci and others, your upline that can provide that. But at the end of the day, you got to run your race. And I was telling this earlier to one of my friends, listen, small decisions that are consistent propel towards the right goal, meaning, okay, I want to get my trio. Well, what are you doing today to get you closer to that goal? What are you doing today? Are you just sitting on your couch, or are you actively going around your neighborhood, going to the stores? Are you doing something small to get you closer to meeting that goal? Because I hear people that they have a lot of talk, but when it comes down to it, they're really they either are lazy, or number two, they just don't know really how to approach people. So when you do small decisions and small choices every day towards that goal, imagine this. If you do one thing towards that goal, one thing a day, in a year's time, you have done 365 positive things towards that goal, and it gets you there. I would say don't compare yourself. To build large networks, it's difficult not to say there's a formula. There are different things that work. You got to find your niche. For me, it has been keeping it real, keeping it personal with people. You guys know that I'm not an expert on systems. I love systems. I think people that can create those are amazing, and I'm gleaning from them, and I love it. I've kept it simple. How I've grown to the network that we have, you guys. I just have incredible people that are in my network, absolutely. I mean, I would be an idiot not to acknowledge that. But for me, it's been relational. The one-on-ones, the phone calls. I talked to a gentleman today, actually this morning also. I'm always on the phone with people, encouraging them, oversees a missions organization. He said, do you think me blasting a bunch of emails to like 40,000 people, will that help? I said, it all depends, but I wouldn't do it, because if it's not personal, I wouldn't do it. You can send a mass email. Maybe you can get some hits on that, but people appreciate in my side, where I'm at, you got to see the culture of where you're at. You know, are you in a laid back area, and are you more in a business oriented area? It all depends where you're at. But for me, it's been personal. The phone calls, the texting, personally reaching people on Facebook. How are you doing? And you know, I love what Karen Inhofe said the other day. Today, you know, the dripping method. You drip on people. Say, hey, how are you doing? You know, tell me about your phone bill or whatnot if you want to go that way, or just reaching out in general about their family. It really helps. Now, the last thing is, you know, what's the motive behind why you're doing what you're doing? Hey, man, I really want to be debt-free. I really want to make an extra $1,000 a month. Well, that's great. That's real. So let's break it down and let's see what things are you doing daily to get you to that goal. And Staci, I think those key principles that we share in the webinars, what I find when I get frustrated, it really means that I love what they're doing. At the end of the day, you guys, nothing in life is worth having that you don't sacrifice for. It's going to take time. It's going to take sacrifice. It's going to take going to bed at times a little bit later after work hours for me with a family and putting 60 hours a week on my regular job in ministry. It is sacrifice, but it really boils down to this. Number one, I am determined that I'm not going to give up. Number two, I am determined that whether people leave and people go or whatever they do, I'm going to remain steady. I am going to remain consistent. And then when I need help, I love what Robert just said. Go to your upline and don't display negativity to those that you're serving. You know, we serve upward. That's all I see it. But if something is going on, you're frustrated, man, vent out to your upline. But those people that you're serving always come across positive, encouraging. And how do you build your large network? There are different things, Staci, with your expertise that I think you can share. For me, it has been the simple principle of keeping it real, keeping it personal. And then I go back to the basic, 12 who get 12, who get 12, who get 12. And out of that, you know, we have grown. But I know I've said a lot. I hope this has helped someone.
Absolutely, Jose. I've got the screen open here of what people are typing in, and they're loving it. They're loving the analogies. They're taking notes. I'm taking notes as you guys are talking so people can see those notes. I just want to say this. Today, Jose, you and I were talking, and the question came up. There was somebody who had said, you know, I feel like I'm running out of people to talk to, which again goes back to you got to have an abundance mentality. You're never going to run out of people to talk to, period, end of story. I'm sitting here right now in a parking lot, and I'm watching people come and go, and they're all carrying cell phones. You'll never run out. The question is, are you willing to get out of your comfort zone? Somebody today said, you know, I've run out of leads. I think I'm going to try one of those kiosks. And what do you guys think about the kiosks? And, of course, and I just want to share this openly on this call and let, you know, Jose, you speak to it. Robert, if you want to speak to it as well. I just want people to understand you do not have to go outside of first off, you do not have to spend thousands of dollars in order to do Solavei. Now, there's going to be some people who have very strategic business strategies, and maybe they've got money like that to spend. Maybe they've got the ability to risk funds. That's fine, but I just don't want a whole lot of mom and pops going out there thinking that they've got to open up kiosks in malls in order to do Solavei. Solavei is simple. Solavei is as simple. I wish maybe someday we could do it. We'd take a camera. Maybe we can get Rob, maybe you and I could just go on the street and show people how easy it is to truly do Solavei. I think that would just be really effective for them just to see, what do we say? How easy is it? What do you do on an elevator? What is it like to sit in a taxi cab with Rob or Staci or Jose? How are you guys approaching people that they're actually signing up? And as we do that, hopefully we can continue to have these types of calls where we just get down real, don't have to have it all, you know, special and spicy and great spice, but that we can talk about. But hopefully today, I had a very big opinion about the kiosks because I think very specific people are going to have success, but the majority of people who do it will not have success because it's not a proven strategy. And those who do have proven strategy in the kiosk business, even like Karen and Randy Inhofe, they've made millions of dollars doing that, and they still have not opened a kiosk yet because they understand, first off, they're letting a lot of other people run the game. We're going to watch and analyze what's working, what's not working. They're not going to go out and just try something because they understand the cost of kiosks high. And today they said, if you're going to do that, make sure, unless you are a dealer or somebody who has operated in the mobile space, make sure that you put that kiosk with another product or another service or something. Hair bows. In the mall that you're going to sell, cute little hair bows or hair extensions or whatever, you want to tag it with something else because those are some pretty high overheads. I know this is going to another place, but the reason why I'm people to talk to, they're starting to get a little desperate, thinking that I think I'll just go and do something that other people have talked about.
Hey, Staci, you're in a very bad service area. We're getting very big blotches of blackout with your speaking. Is that something you can rectify?
Bring Erin on deck up.
Is there some way you can move to a different location?
Can you hear me, Rob?
Okay, that came through, but you've had large blocks of blackouts?
Yeah.
Okay, so Jose, I think you know what I'm talking about. If you could just speak a little bit on how kiosk businesses are working in your network for some of those people who think they're just going to go try to find more leads. Maybe you could speak to that for a second.
Yeah, absolutely. And Robert, if you have wisdom as well. Yeah, for my experience, I got two sides of the thing. I have someone that wanted to do it strictly, that didn't have a business already at the mall, no kiosk whatsoever. Just to begin, a kiosk at the mall, just you got to pay the first month rent and the last month rent, and then you got to pay in between. And the rent was at least $1,500 to $3,000 every month. Just strictly to get leads for Solavei. That wouldn't be a smart decision if you don't have the overhead to pay every month. And what they shut it down within the first 2 months just because financially it wasn't the right choice. However, I do have another person that does have a kiosk in another state, and to them it's been great because they already had a kiosk at the mall. They already have, they blended with other services that they offer as a business with cell phone accessories and or other things. And to them, they already have had a kiosk for many, many years. And to them, to add Solavei is just an added bonus because they're getting leads there automatically because of their business. So I personally, and I talked to them, the one that has had it for a long time, and Randy, and they're like, brother, I've been doing this for 20 years, and I don't recommend anybody to start doing this. And I agree. With there are better ways and less expensive ways to get leads. I mean, if you really want to do something at the mall, here's how I'm going to shoot it straight. Just make a shirt that says, I got my cell phone service for free, ask me how. And just walk 8 hours a day in the mall. That saves you $1,500 a month. And people will stop and ask you. I mean, we were in a nutritional company that you wear this pin that says, I lost 30 pounds, ask me how. And people actually stop you and say, how? So, I mean, I challenge you, make a shirt, make a sweatshirt, do something, and walk around the mall and say, $49 for free, cell phone service, ask me how. I love the idea of, I got my cell phone service free, ask me how. Check it out, challenge yourself. If you want to get leads that way, there's no difference than having a kiosk and walking around the mall with, your walking billboard. But I wouldn't recommend it unless you already are there. If you can finance it, go for it. I think it will be great to get some leads. But to the average individual, I wouldn't recommend it. That's I got to share. Robert, what you guys want to share anything on that?
Yeah, I have a couple of thoughts on that. My primary angst with that type of an approach would be, number one, yes, your cost of your overhead is ridiculous. But more importantly, if you're doing it in order to increase more leads. So, for example, Staci and I were having a conversation today regarding if somebody has gone out and talked to 100 people and not had a single bite, now they want to go out and get a kiosk in order to increase their lead pool. If they're having a 0 out of 100 close ratio with people that they already know or people that they've already talked to, and then they go out and invest $1,500 to $3,000 to open up a kiosk in order just to increase the leads, they're really going to have the same closing ratio. The ratio is not going to change. It's really more about what they're saying and less about where they're getting the lead.
Absolutely.
Because today, for example, I have not been focused on my own personal network. I've been focused on growing my team. And, like you, we just passed 10,000 people in my organization. And
awesome.
And so, hey, I'm on your heels, buddy.
Come on.
So,
go on, brother. Come on.
You're giving me a target. You're giving me something to shoot for. So, but
yeah.
What I wanted to say with that is when gosh, I totally lost my train of thought. Oh, I apologize. I completely
if they're having
blank.
zero turnaround on sales of 100 people, what's going to make them still think that they're going to go to a kiosk, you were saying, and get the same better results to increase their network?
Thank you. And so today, I have not been focused. I've been focused on building a team and less about my own personal network and growing and developing my personal network trios. But in a conversation, really what inspired me, quite honestly, was when Ryan Wirch, our founder and CEO, put out the video, this last update video, and he had highlighted a couple of members, and Chris Daugherty, who had gotten 6 trios personally in 1 month. So that's 18 people. And then he said Staci, and he said a couple of other people who had gotten 5. And I started to think, you know what, and so I asked Staci, I said, what in the world are you doing to get 5 personal trios in a month? That's 15 people, you personally, on the heels of already having put in a bunch of people. And she said, I talk to everybody. Well, that's not my personality, right? I am not that style. That's not my way. I'd much rather grow and develop my network in different strategies. But today I sat down at my daughter's basketball game, and she's in 7th grade. I'm sitting next to some random people, had a very nice lady next to me. I just did a blitz call the other day where I talked about rapport matters more than anything. When you're about to engage an individual, if you just say, hello, how are you, and start talking to them about Solavei, you're going to get nowhere. But if you actually are sincere in talking to them and finding out about them and what's going on. So I engaged in a very delightful conversation with this mother of one of my daughter's teammates. And after we had established rapport, it was probably a 10 or 15-minute conversation while the game was happening. We were cheering our kids, and we were just bantering back and forth. And we just had the most delightful conversation. And I asked her, I said, what is it that you do or your husband does for a living? What is it that you do? She's like, I'm really looking for something right now. I did medical billing for a while, and but with the downturn in the economy, things are pretty tight. Now I'm really looking for something that I should do. She's like, you got any ideas? I'm like, oh, could I just kiss you right square on the cheek? I mean, that was like the best segue conversation, but it was because she was very comfortable with me. And at the time, anyway, so I got her tonight, and then I thought to myself, you know what? There's a guy on the left side of me. I'm going to ask him, which child's yours? And he goes, well, my child is the one in the game after this. And I said, oh, great. So which one is she? Oh, she's right there. And we engaged, again, 10 minutes of banter. I asked him what he did. We had a very delightful conversation about he's starting a technology company where he is going to, sell wine and cheese. I don't know what motivates people, but it was interesting, and I was engaged in the conversation. And then he pulled out his iPhone, and I said, hey, you got an iPhone? Can I ask you a question? He said, sure. I said, that particular iPhone, is that the 5? And he says, no, this is a 4. I said, no, what service are you with? And he says, I'm with AT&T. And I said, you know what, I was with AT&T for 13 years. Do you mind if I ask you what you're paying? And he says, you know what, because I have me and my 2 daughters on the same plan, sometimes my bill is $250 and sometimes it's $400. And he's like, it's killing me. I said, what if I could tell you I could help you save some money on that? He's like, I'd be all over it. And I said, well, $49 unlimited per phone, so you'd be $150 plus tax. Is that of interest to you? He goes, oh, I'd do that in a heartbeat. I said, now keep in mind, are you under contract? And he goes, no, I've been with AT&T for like 15 years. And I said, great. We need to chat. I'm going to send you a video. Give me your information. I'm going to follow up with you tomorrow. I said, but what I can tell you, simply this, is from a savings perspective, if I do nothing more than just help you save some money, and then you have a fixed cost every month, that your daughters can surf and they can talk and they can text and they can web and they can Facebook and Pinterest and Twitter and tweet and do whatever they want, and you have a fixed cost. Is that of interest? And he goes, I am all over hearing about that. So I didn't even go into anything right there. But right there I left with him and his 2 daughters. That's a trio. And then the gal with her husband and their 2 kids. All 4 have cell phones. That's 7 people that I am confident I am going to close in the next day or two, based on the fact that I'm going to use the incentive of the closing of our Is It Free promotion. So it is truly everywhere. I love, everybody talks about the 3-foot rule. If someone's within 3 feet of me, they're going to catch Solavei, right? They're going to hear about it. I'm going to just tell. And that's not been my style. But you know what? Every time we engage in a conversation, you can always bring in a very sincere approach that says, I am here to help you. In fact, I believe Zig Ziglar has a quote. If you go out looking for a friend, you'll find they're scarce. But if you go out trying to be a friend, you'll find that they're everywhere. And that is literally all you are is you are providing value. And if you come at it from that way, not everybody's going to say yes. But you know what? A lot will. And they won't know unless you open your mouth and you extend that invitation and let them make the decision. And if it's a no, it's not a no. It's just a not yet. So get their information when that conversation is done and then drip on them. Hey, I was thinking about you. Just wanted to know, is there anything I can do for you? And be a friend, and you'll find out they're everywhere. And when people feel that trust with you, they're more apt to do business with you. That's my thought.
That's great, Rob. And I think that one of the things, can you guys hear me now? Am I clear?
Yes. Much better.
Yes. Okay, so I just want you guys to know that I'm standing out in the rain now, and this is awesome. I'm on an AT&T phone, so for those of you who are texting in, asking if I'm on my mobile, no, I'm not. I'm on someone's AT&T phone, so there you go. Don't be bashing Solavei because I didn't have a reception. And now, just because I love you this much, I'm going to stand out in the Seattle rain and let myself get completely rained on so that we can have clarity. We've got an amazing gal that's on the call with us right now that I want to introduce you guys to. You may have never met her before. Her name is Erin Wolf. And as these guys are talking about, just real authenticity and sincerity and what it is to connect with people, I see your posts over there that y'all are saying, please put that camera on. Let us see. How are you doing it? And, to be honest with you, I don't need another person in my network. The reason why I do what I do and the reason why I'm constantly cranky, and I give a lot of people away, yeah, but the reason why I continue to put those numbers on the board is because I cannot ask you to do something that I'm not doing. I can't ask you to do something that you're not going to see it happening. How could I ask you to do that every week? How can I be as resilient and strong and bulldogged? It's because I know what it takes to make it happen. You know what joys me right now is you guys are getting ready to watch when Rob is talking about, he's been building systems and doing some things that are getting ready to launch. And Rob, I'm so excited because I know you saying that today and being authentic with that, that's not usually my thing. I've got over here posts on the right side that have said, I'm so afraid of getting out of my comfort zone. I'm so afraid of talking to people. It's just not my style. And you just nailed it. It doesn't matter. I mean, good Lord, dress and drag if you have to and pretend to be somebody else. No's are not painful. Once you get past it, I just say that out loud. I probably should have thought that and not said it. Put on a costume. Dress like somebody else. Reinvent yourself. If you've always been that quiet, shy, timid person, what a great time right now to reinvent yourself and become bold and courageous. Take an opportunity to say, you know what, has this been working for me? Because if it hasn't been working for you, then maybe it's time to shift. And I am so proud of Erin Wolf because she is one that came to me and said, Staci, now this is early in the season of Solavei and in the lane. She said, I'm just talking to a lot of people. And you guys got to understand, probably of everybody I know in the entire world, she is the nicest, sweetest apple pie person I've ever met. And it was Zig Ziglar who brought us together. I was a master distributor and for Zig Ziglar, one of his businesses, and she was one of our top producers. And she just was being so sweet to everybody. And she called me and she said, Staci, I'm talking to people, and it's like they keep telling me they're going to do it, but I just can't get them to sign up. And I said, well, let me listen to what you're saying. Let me just be on a phone call with you. And when I was on the phone call with her, after we were done, I said, baby girl, let me just tell you something. you are taking way too long to get to the point. You're loving on them, smearing on the butter, talking to them about the Lord. And you know what? You need to get to the $49 of free unlimited voice, text, and data in a very compassionate, sensitive way, but you need to do it a little quicker. Let that video do the talking for you. And at that time, it was a 40-minute video. And so, Erin, you have been, I mean, this weekend was phenomenal. Came down there, saw your people. She did 3 events. She did a women's breakfast. She did a luncheon. She did an event in the evening. She worked me like a missionary. But, Erin, you are such an incredible example of how making that shift, if people can make the shift that Rob was just talking about, it can change the dynamics of how their business develops. Can you tell us a little bit about what's going on and what's working for you?
Oh, absolutely, Staci. Thank you so much. It's just a joy to be on this call with everyone. I, too, just am so thankful to Zig Ziglar, and I think back to everything that we learned from him, and the quotes just keep coming to mind. Rob, you said so many, Jose. And I remember one of the first things that really stuck with me was you were born to win, but to be a winner, you must plan to win, prepare to win, and expect to win. So when Staci came to me with Solavei, when we still had non-disclosures, that is the attitude that I took on, is we have got something really huge here. And it's so much more than cell service. And that's what I believe with my very soul, is that we've just got so much more to offer people. We offer them hope. And Staci talked about a revolution and just how we can really change people's lives. And again, the same phrase you had popped in earlier, that if we just help enough other people, as Zig said, then we will be blessing ourselves as well, and it comes back. And that's exactly what I found to be true. So in our network, Staci, thank you so much for coming to Austin, Texas. I have an amazing team here, and everyone was just so excited to meet Staci. And what works really well is just listening and focusing on people. Rob, you just hit the nail on the head, that you don't come to them and just say, hey, do you want $49 unlimited text, data, and talk? They probably wouldn't listen to you, but to sit there and to listen and to develop that rapport is so important. I just love it when people will take time to talk with me and listen to me, and we all feel valued and honored when others do that for us. And so when we do take that time, whether we're talking about Solavei or someone's family or whatever it is, to just take that time to focus on those individuals and care for them. I just really think that that's so important. I remember this was great. I believe, and I teach my kids, or I try to remember this for our kids. We have 4 kids, that, you know, what they learn in life is really caught. It's not taught. And we're continually modeling. We're continually modeling as parents. And I think we continually model for our team. Just like Jose said, we need to be positive and have that great attitude. And so when Staci was down here, she just honored my friends at the coffee, and she had each one of them introduce themselves and tell a little bit about themselves. And that really honored them and made them feel welcome and present in their lives. And then when she did speak at the coffee, she was able to speak to some of the different seasons that they were in life. And so I'm learning from Staci as we go. If we all can just learn every single day. And so what has just worked so well is to care about the people, and as Staci said, get to our point quickly when we do start going over Solavei. So it was great because we had the coffee, and I just want to share this sweet story that the coffee was not about Solavei, but we were having a business luncheon afterwards and invited some people to come. And sure enough, several people said, so what was that Staci mentioned, the Solavei thing? And I said, yeah, we're having a luncheon that's a business luncheon or an evening event, so you can come. And so one lady came, and as we were walking in, she said, wow, after listening to Staci at the coffee, I'll bet she's going to make Solavei sound like anything but mobile phone service, but like we're really changing the world. And she couldn't have said it any better herself, because that's how we feel about solar service and what $200, $400 could do for a family. And so sure enough, it was just fantastic. And I think, too, a great thing is recognition. So anytime, just like one of my gals got 4 people just in the last couple of days, just since Staci was here, every single one of them them are on fire and moving and excited. But, you know, I texted her. I said, I'm so proud of you. That was just a great job. I see you're bringing people in. How can I help you more? And she wrote back. She said, my dreams are coming true. Thank you so much. And thanks, Staci. This is just going to help our family so much. So if we will just send a quick text and say, great job, I see what you're doing, I want to be there for you, I think that just speaks volumes. Let's see, any other thoughts? Just to continue to build and to write your goals down, I think is just so important. So you can't just wish, and Staci talked about this while she was here too, you can't just wish for $1,000 and then maybe talk to a couple of people a week. You've got to break it down and say, okay, how many people does that mean I need to talk with in a day? Well, if there's a 10% closing ratio, then I need to talk, if I want 3 people in a week, I need to talk to 30 people per day if it's a 10% closing ratio. So if you get to the end of the week and you don't have 3 people, well, take that time to evaluate what did you do and what did you say. And so that was just a great lesson as well, because it's the little daily things that we do that can make such a difference in our Solavei business. And then I would just encourage you to focus when you're in Solavei, to be in Solavei, and take time to really focus and do what you need to do. Cut off all other distractions and focus on it, because our time is so valuable. It's so short. And so when we're with our kids, we want to be with our kids. When we're with our husbands, wives, be with them. And when we're in our business, be with our business, because we all just have 24 hours. It's how we choose to use that time that's so important.
That's awesome. Well, Erin, 2 things real quick. Number one, Erin is not only an incredible woman, she's a cancer survivor, mother of 4 kids. You know, you guys might have seen that the company press release that went out, they utilized the quote from Erin about, you know, what her life is like with Solavei and 4 kids, and obviously Erin has full-time responsibilities outside of Solavei, and to know that here's a woman that's a mom of 4 doing great things in the world and making over around $1,500 a month with Solavei, and it's just growing. Her team is excited. It's growing. She's going to continue to see Solavei grow for her, and I love that, because it is something that right now, Erin, you're bringing hope to people. And I love everybody giving tribute to Zig tonight. Robert McFadden, thank you so much for being a great leader. Jose, we just continue to be blessed by your humility, and just really want you all to know that tonight, and I see the posts, you guys want scripts. And I want to give you scripts, but more importantly, I want you to hear what's being said. Better than any script in the world is the ability to make a connection. You can't script connection. And that's something to practice. You know, what a great season right now. Accept as many party invitations as you can. Just don't eat all the food. Just accept as many parties. No, I've been doing this for 25 years, full time, doing what I do. So don't compare yourself to me. Compare yourself to you. You know, when Erin said, talk to, you know, the closing ratio of 10, if you have 10% closing ratio, and you're trying to get 3 trios a week, that's 30 people a week you need to talk to. So if you're only talking to 1 or 2, and yet you're wanting to be 1,000 there in a certain specific time, maybe you're wanting to do the member action plan, just realize, unless you plan on increasing your closing ratio bigger than 10%, then you're going to have to talk to a lot of people. So practice makes perfect. Practice is going to get that closing ratio up to 20%, then 30%. And you're going to be able to not have to fill your funnel with 1,500 leads. You're going to be able to fill it with 5. These speakers that are on, I know we've gone a little bit over. I apologize for the time that we took at the beginning for the technical difficulties. I do know that there's a couple of new people on the call tonight, a few people actually, and this is not a traditional call for us. If you're looking to see an overview of Solavei, I encourage you to take a look at one of our videos, particularly the 6-minute video. Is going to give you a great overview of who we are and what our value proposition is. After you see that video, I encourage you to take a look at the video that is the I Am Solavei video. And you're going to begin to understand why we are so passionate about Solavei being a revolution, even though it's mobile service, something so very non-revolutionary. And for those of you who are brand new, I encourage you, get with the person who encouraged you to be on this call tonight. Ask them to show you those videos, to give you a a full overview. I'm sure you could reach out to any of the leaders on this call. Again, thank you all so very much for being a part tonight. And we, like Zig Ziglar says, we will not only see you at the top, we plan on seeing you over the top. Good night, everyone, and God bless.